Hello, brains! This week, in honor of Valentine's Day, I wanted to talk about all the different ways ADHD affects our relationships. But days later, buried under piles and piles of research, I realized this is a huge issue. So we're gonna call this one ADHD in Relationships Part 1 of probably like 100. There are already a ton of YouTube videos and articles with great advice on everything about how to deal with ADHD in relationships, from impulsivity and hyperactivity, time management, money management, to inattention, as in forgetfulness. And I don't know how to explain how many articles I read about leaving little reminders everywhere, except to tell you I am now heavily invested in Post-it. But to be honest, most guys I've dated have been able to handle me forgetting appointments or losing stuff. There's a far more damaging aspect to the way that ADHD affects relationships, and I don't see it talked about very often. It's not a very popular subject. What is it? Inattention, as in getting bored. I'm gonna open up about my own personal experiences and what I've found that helps. But first, to help us understand why we get bored of what used to be the only thing that we could think about, cool science stuff. It's not true that people with ADHD can't focus. It's that we have trouble sustaining our attention on things that don't reward our brains for focusing on them. What's behind most ADHD symptoms, and this one's no different, is trouble with dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that's part of the reward system in our brain. We do a thing, we get a hit of dopamine, we feel good. The problem is, in ADHD brains, there aren't as many dopamine receptors as there are in the average brain. We kind of have to flood our brain with dopamine to feel the effects. You've heard of heat-seeking missiles? We are dopamine-seeking missiles. The ADHD brain is great at focusing on 4 things. No big surprise, these things fire up the dopamine. 1, things that are of personal interest. 2, things that are challenging. 3, things that are new or novel. 4, things that are under a crazy deadline. At the beginning of a relationship, at least the first 3 of those are all in play. All 4 if your mom's pressuring you to give her grandkids already. Which is why, at the beginning of a relationship, most of us can barely think about anything else. All of our time and energy and attention is lavished on this other person. But as a relationship continues, it's not as stimulating anymore, and our focus shifts to other ways to increase our dopamine. This can be damaging to relationships in a couple of ways. The non-ADHD partner gets used to that attention, and it doesn't feel good when you pull away. It can feel personal. It can feel like you don't love them anymore. You get used to the high levels of dopamine and you kind of get hooked. It's fairly common for those of us with ADHD to use relationships as a dopamine boost. We start doing whatever we can to create or preserve that dopamine high, including, in no particular order of personal experience, A, getting involved with the nearest available human of the desired gender because they're there and you're bored. Pretty sure this is how Tinder works. B, going from relationship to relationship. C, pretending things are perfect in your relationship long after it's clear they're not. D, criticizing or wanting to change the other person in order to make the relationship perfect. Also, sometimes you'll still pretend it is perfect. It's very confusing for everyone involved. E, cheating on them because you're bored but you don't want to hurt them / end the relationship. F, lying to them. G, when you find a relationship you like, pushing everything to the next level as quickly as possible just to feel that thrill of new. If you're stuck in this vicious cycle, which I only sometimes and with great difficulty have been able to avoid, I would like to present to you option H, honesty. Be honest with yourself about what you want. Be honest with yourself about who you are, what you need. Be honest with yourself about who your partner is and if he's right for you. Be honest about what you need in a relationship. Be honest about your deal breakers. Be honest about where you are in the relationship. If you're 2 weeks in, no, you probably don't have enough information yet to know that this is the person you want to marry. And if you're 2 years in, no, it's not going to be as crazy, wild, and euphoric as it was at first. And thank goodness, because nobody can sustain that. Stop pretending this is the perfect relationship if it's not, and you're just with this person to feel good. Because eventually, it doesn't. If you're in the relationship for the dopamine high, not the person, understand that the dopamine high will end, and then you'll still be stuck with the person, or have to leave and watch them cry. I'll be honest, being honest doesn't solve everything. You might fight more. You might have more first dates that don't turn into second dates. When you look on Tinder, you might not find a good match 2 blocks away. But I'll tell you what does happen. 1, it gets interesting. You never know what to expect because now you're 2 human beings interacting, not people playing roles. Roles get boring. Perfect girlfriend, perfect boyfriend. Any relationship that you bring your real self into is always going to be interesting. And if you're really being honest with yourself, you're only going to get involved with people who actually interest you. 2, it gets challenging. You'll actually have to work out solutions to actual problems. 3, it becomes new. You'll constantly be reinventing yourselves, each other, the relationship. You can affect your partner. They can affect you. And it will get deeper and more beautiful and more exciting than you could have ever imagined. And then something incredible happens. You can stop worrying about finding or saving or creating or ending a relationship and go find other things that are exciting to you. Make a video game, start a YouTube channel, projects, travel, TED Talks. And if you're honest with your partner, they'll know to enjoy the times when you hyper-focus on them and understand that when your attention is on a project that you're working on, it's not that you don't love them. And you can remind each other, because we will forget, that this is a normal part of having ADHD. That's it for this week. Hopefully some of this is helpful. Hopefully it resonates with some of you. It's what I wish someone had told me. For the rest of you, stay tuned. I'll be tackling a ton of other issues that come up in ADHD relationships in future videos. If you have questions or a topic you'd like me to address, leave it in the comments below and hit me up on Facebook and Twitter. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it when I actually talk about it. I'll see you next week. Bye, brains. Oh, happy Valentine's Day. Find love, love, true love, love, true love, love, true love, true love, love, true love.